Good evening and a very warm welcome to English News Package with Radio and Television Tonga for the hour. Making headlines, Legislative Assembly observed a 1 minute of silence for the Minister of Agriculture, the Honourable late William Hingano. The 17th vote of the Internal Affairs Ministry was submitted to the Whole House Committee, and more farm tractors for Tonga from China result of an agreement with the Foreign Minister Honourable Wang Yi when he visited Tonga in the past weeks. We'll have these and more stories later on in the bulletin, together with sports to wrap up with the latest weather update. Now with the news in details. The Legislative Assembly of Tonga observed a 1 minute of silence this morning for the Minister of Agriculture, the late Honourable Viliami Hingano. Honourable Minister passed away last Friday at the Auckland City Hospital in New Zealand. Waifonotu Paula with more on this story.
The Lord Speaker of Parliament, Lord Fafanua, informed the members this morning the loss of Honourable Viliami Hingano before the House proceeded with its deliberations. The Prime Minister, Honourable Wakameliku, says in Parliament the body of Hingano will be repatriated this Thursday from Auckland to Tongatapu, and upon arrival, the government will host formalities to honour the late minister in Tongatapu before leaving to Ha'apai. Details of the programme for the funeral will be announced later. Hingano was appointed as the Government of Tonga's Minister of Agriculture, Food and Forestry on the 28th of December last year. He was a former Member of Parliament representing Ha'apai 12 in the 2014 election but lost his seat in the 2017 election. Hingano was appointed in January last year as the Governor of Ha'apai, and in November last year he was elected as the representative of Ha'apai 12. Waifonotu Paula for Radio and Television Tonga News.
As deliberations in Parliament continued this morning, the 17th vote of the Internal Affairs Ministry was submitted to the Whole House Committee.
The concern is because about 6,000 seasonal workers from Tonga are participating in the program with the social problems on the rise, but it seems nothing has been done about it. Latu Varano says the seasonal work program should be reviewed by the ministry to reduce these problems from happening, as this is one of the great contributions to our economy. He adds that married couples have been approved to travel together in the program, and families are now approved to travel with members of their family participating in the seasonal workers program to Australia. One of the issues raised are the social problems caused by seasonal workers. Recently, Samoa has suspended sending of seasonal workers overseas because of these social problems, and this is what we should do as well. I am aware the CEO and the Minister knows about it. What are you doing about it? Because our image to these countries is badly reflected because of these people we sent to take part in the program. I understand these people are traveling to help their families, but we should not tolerate these kinds of behaviors, as they're not doing what they're supposed to do, is to work and provide for their families, but causing problems in the workplace, bringing shame and disgrace to the rest of our Tongan people. The Minister of Internal Affairs, Honourable Sione Sengsta Saulala, responded to the issue. The most important thing now is looking ahead. This problem has been ongoing for years now. We have liaison officers who provide counselling, but these problems are caused by the individual choices. But like I said, what's important is looking ahead at what can be done. Meanwhile, there are about 603 Tongans in Australia under the seasonal worker program, with 691 in New Zealand. About 457 seasonal workers from Tonga will travel in the next batch. However, the vote 17 of the Internal Affairs Ministry was passed by the Whole House Committee, with 8 million pa'anga approved for the new financial year. Waifonotu Paula for Radio and Television Tonga News.
The youths of today can work to provide for Tonga in the future and to help solve the deficit to Tonga's economy. This was part of the Speaker of Parliament's address in a youth program last week.
The Lord Speaker of Parliament, Lord Fafanua, thanked the excellent rate the youth in Tonga have in managing their own businesses, as it is one of the ways that can help Tonga have a better financial status in the future, with young youth running local businesses.
The private sector is where the growth is. That is where government collects their revenue. If you slack off and you don't create jobs and you don't create opportunities for your young ones and the next generation to come, government's going to continue getting into debt, because we're going to be consistently relying on donors and support from overseas and from your relatives who work from 9 to 5, even on Sundays in America and New Zealand and Australia, to send money to Tonga to help you guys pay for your funerals, your birthdays, your everything, your graduations. But we can't keep doing that. It's unsustainable. And the only way to get out of our poverty cycle is for you to actually create jobs. And I encourage you to please use the talent that you've been given by God. You can come up with ideas and innovations and new systems of creating income that are foreign to us today. Who would have thought that, the knowledge economy would be so great? One of the largest incomes for the New Zealand government right now is from IT. And you wouldn't know it. You'd think it was from their milk and their cows and their, all their dairy products, but it's not.
The speaker presented certificates to young entrepreneurs using their own skills and talents, including fashion and makeup, sewing and flower making, as well as cooking. 5 private businesses in Tonga successfully completed the courses at the TYEE in partnership with related stakeholders from abroad. These 5 businesses include one known as the Huni business, operated by 4 young girls aimed at combating plastic waste materials that harm the ocean life. The 4 other businesses include Lepeka Mahe's tourism business in Ha'apai, Lavinia Fihogo's beauty and style, and Joan Rikamoto's Weather Coffee, and Christy Lavulavu's beauty shop. Huni and Weather Coffee both won $5,000 cash prize for the most outstanding business in operating and managing a business. Wahaiwhanatua Paula for Radio and Television Tonga News.
The Chinese ambassador to Tonga, His Excellency Zhao Xiaolin, handed over to the Prime Minister, Honourable Hokama Liku, on Friday 30 farm tractors as an expansion of the first donation earlier this year. The 30 farm tractors are from China's Dongguan City, Guangdong Province. It is one of the outcomes of the visit by the Chinese State Councillor and Foreign Minister, His Excellency Wang Yi, to Tonga. During the handover ceremony, the Prime Minister says that the farm tractors will help develop the agriculture and food sectors while Tonga is recovering the impacts of COVID-19 and the volcanic eruption earlier this year.
As Tonga struggles to rebuild after the shocking volcanic eruption and tsunami, I am most grateful for your timely donation, which will assist and enhance the development of Tonga's human and land resources, as well as generating further economic and social wealth. Excellency, Tonga continues to benefit from the strong cooperation with the Dongguan province, and though Dongguan had initially established sister-sister relations with the Ha'apai group, we have witnessed their assistance have spread throughout the kingdom to most or even all of the Tongan people. Today, the tractors shall significantly assist our recovery efforts, especially the farmers, their families and communities, as well as Tonga's economy.
The Chinese ambassador to Tonga, His Excellency Zhao Xiaolin, further elaborates that this part of the Tonga and the China agreement to build closer working relations to reduce poverty, more actions on climate change and disaster preparedness.
This batch of 30 farm tractors is one of the concrete outcomes of the visit by the Chinese State Councillor and the Foreign Minister, His Excellency Wang Yi, from 31st May to 1st June. Besides these 30 farm tractors, there are more outcomes of the visit, such as the assistance of water tanks, boat engines, vehicles, rapid antigen test kits, etc. We are confident that all these assistance items will be helpful for the Tongan government and the Tongan people in your construction efforts for economic and social development, especially for food security.
The 30 farm tractors donated last Friday is in addition to 40 tractors that were donated earlier this year from China. As such, a total of 70 tractors have been donated from China, and it will be distributed to schools and constituencies. The Governor-General of Australia, David Hurley, and his partner, Linda Hurley, were delighted to host His Royal Highness Crown Prince Tupoto'a Ulkalala and Her Royal Highness Crown Princess Sinaitagala at the Government House of Australia over the weekend. The Royal Highness's time in Australia reflects the very best of the Australia-Tonga partnership. In the statement released on the page, the Governor-General for Australia stated that their Royal Highnesses are expected to return home to Tonga following the completion of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince postgraduate studies in Canberra. The Governor-General and his partner hope to see the Crown Prince and Crown Princess of Tonga back in Australia soon. And the Ministry of Trade and Economic Development has successfully implemented a Tonga Business Accelerator pilot recovery project with the support from the Pacific Labour Facility and the Market Development Facility Pacific Regional, a private sector development initiative funded by the Australian and New Zealand governments. The project is one of the first for Market Development Facility Pacific Regional expansion since it's extended its footprint to Tonga, Samoa and Vanuatu this year. The project assisted 18 micro, small and medium businesses in sectors such as baking, food processing, fabric printing and furniture production to reset, recover and rebuild from the multiple impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Hunga volcanic eruption in January this year. Australia's High Commissioner to Tonga, Her Excellency Rachel Moore, awarded certificates in the weekend to 18 businesses who successfully completed the workshop in 6 weeks. The Minister for Trade and Economic Development, Honourable Dr. Viliami Latu, says that this workshop is part of the government's effort to empower businesses with skills so they are able to recover and rebuild after facing challenges from 2020 up to now.
The certificate award ceremony of the Tonga Business Accelerator pilot project is a milestone that we are pleased to mark. So, thank you for making time in a busy schedule to be here. This initiative is somewhat different from the usual support that the ministry provided in the past. The model of business support provides practical and workable business advisory solutions that will help small and medium-sized businesses withstand and recover from the impacts of the disaster events in January and the COVID-19 pandemic.
A representative from businesses that participated in the workshop, Maria Lita Fisivao from Frank Enterprises and Mediani Lolohea from Isiaola Furniture explained what they've learned.
The training helped us take a realistic overview of our current strategies in our workplaces, our financial literacy, our sales and marketing, and most importantly, our human resource management. We came with what little we experienced and shared, and under our trainers gained fresh overview out of the box of ideas and new ways to enhance what we know, what we practice, and what we work with. It is true, our small businesses are limited in many of these areas, but these sessions have given us more skills, more understanding of how to adopt stronger internal controls and systems, provide good management and leadership, better and realistic formal planning of finance and assets. We are also able to be guided in building leadership, fostering success, working towards economic viability.
Each time of our training at us building, we realize that things do not happen. Things are made to happen. And that we need to diverse our mission into real business. No more lip sync. Nevertheless, baby step is better than no step. There are few fruitful quotes I have gotten from our training that I inspired for my business recovery. First, it was not raining when Noah built the ark. To me, a need to always be prepared, along with faith and hope. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Behind every number, there is a person or people. Press on that, and it goes like this. The past is behind. Learn from it. The future is ahead. Prepare for it. The present is here. Live it.
With the assistance of an internationally experienced business coach, Steve Cordero, the Ministry of Trade and Economic Development, supported by the Mark Development Facility, Pacific Regional, and the Pacific Labour Facility, mobilized a team of local business coaches to develop and implement a business mentoring program for the participants. Representatives of the 18 businesses received training in business modeling, financial management, marketing, and human resources. Both MDF, Pacific Regional, and PLF will continue to collaborate with the Ministry of Trade and Economic Development in implementing future iterations of the Business Accelerator program. That's our local news with radio and television Tonga News 40 Hour with Tonga Development Bank.
Tonga Development Bank does not charge you levy for using its currency exchange or DD services.
Sports is up next, and it is kindly sponsored by Pacific Timber and Hardware.
Welcome back. In sports, from the local sports news, the manager of Tonga women's national football team, Accelerator Tu'ivailala, has officially announced the 23 girls from 27 clubs in Tonga to join the women's national football team for the World Cup qualifier and the OFC Nations Cup, which is expected to take place on the 13th to the 30th of next month in Suva, Fiji. The fullbacks are Ofaloto La'akulu and Meliseni Tufui from the Veitongo Soccer Club, Patiola Tonga from Nuku'alofa, Sunipa Talasinga from Veitongo, Mele Kafa from Nuku'alofa, Taviana Vaka from USA, and Ana Lauteao from Veitongo. The central midfields are Finihika Finau from Whahefa, Ana Taimani Polovili from Veitongo, Lisieli Siale from Whahefa, Kiana Swift from Canada, Laveni Vaka from USA, and Jasmine Lot-Arniu from Australia. Meleana Taufa from Veitongo, Grace Tenifa from Fasimoyafi, Hehe Taufa from Ha'apai, and Enisolo Fahinafa from Vava'u are the football guards of this team. Connie Selby is the coach of this national football team, and the assistant coach is Mark Bell Uhatahi. The team was officially announced during an AGM of the Tonga Football Association on Friday last week, in which Lord Vehala was re-elected as the president of the association with 18 votes.
And that concludes tonight's English news package. But before we part, here's one final look at tonight's top stories. Legislative Assembly observed a 1 minute of silence for the Minister of Agriculture, the late Honourable Viliami Manobangai Hingano. The 17th vote of the Internal Affairs Ministry was submitted to the Whole House Committee, and more farm tractors for Tonga from China result of an agreement with the Foreign Minister Honourable Wang Yi when he visited Tonga in the past weeks. And that's it for tonight. Thank you for your company. I'm Alice Dubo. Have a blessed evening.